Hey, it's me, MLB. Here's chapter 35 of Chance Ball, and this one is titled Mad Chase. He growled lowly with frustration. How am I supposed to get through this grad when you got me wanting to just rip your dress off and devour you right here where we stand? Oh, God, you gasped, pushing him off and creating some distance. I didn't know you were at that level of horny. I've only just gotten here. That's what you do to me, he growled, trying to grab your wrist to pull you into himself again. No, you chuckled, smacking his hand away. You'll just have to suffer until the after-party tonight. He let out another low, frustrated growl, and you chuckled as people started to approach the door that you two were standing at. Let's go. You have to sit with your class, you said, grabbing his torso, and then turning him around and pushing him inside the building. Will you be sitting where I can see you? He leered over his shoulder. Maybe, he replied cheekily. Yes, of course I'll be within eyesight, dingbat. I want to drive you as crazy as possible. As you got inside, the ushers pointed Dabi to his class area, and you were split off to sit in the visitors section, which just so happened to be adjacent to where Dabi was sitting. You found somewhere near the front of the seated area and sat down, in full view of Dabi. He rolled his eyes with frustration as you adjusted your dress and lifted one leg up over the other, the hem falling up a little bit to show off your thigh. Torturing him was so much fun. To others, it just looked like you were showing off your leg, but to him, he was being driven to the brink of insanity because he knew for a fact that you had nothing on underneath, and that's exactly where he wanted to be buried, face first, between those thighs. Lowering your head seductively, you batted your eyelashes at him, placing the tip of your index finger between your teeth and biting down on it suggestively as he watched on. Just then the attendant arrived and handed you a program sheet, and you thanked him and then looked back at Dabi and down at the paper, opening it and pretending to read it like he didn't exist. Who'd have thought I'd be having so much fun? You squealed internally with excitement as you maintained your calm exterior. The program started, and Dabi didn't even bother to look at the front of the hall. His whole attention was on you, and he wanted you to know it. Damn, I can't even look at him anymore. Look at the look on his face, you thought as he glanced at his very lust-filled face. You smirked and winked at him, switching your legs to show off your other thigh. I'm going to get absolutely obliterated later on. Oh my God, the look on his face. The program continued on, and you could see Dabi getting more and more restless, fidgeting and adjusting himself through his pants as his desire for you grew. The announcer returned to the podium after a musical item and introduced the graduating class for that year, pointing out that a number of the members were headed to a prestigious college. Our captain of the volleyball team, Dabi Todoroki, has been selected by Kapuru College as part of their sports program, and we here at Nekoma would like to wish him all the best. Mr. Todoroki, would you please come up to the front so we may all have a few words from you? He asked with an expectant smile. Unwilling to leave his post, staring you down with an erotic gaze in his eyes, Dabi finally looked away and dragged himself to his feet and then walked calmly to the front of the hall with hands in pockets, a smattering of clapping accompanying him down between the rows of students. Congratulations, Todoroki, the announcer said in a celebratory tone as he walked up onto the stage. Would you please give a concluding speech to the rest of the class? What? Dabi speaking to the class? You thought with a smirk. This is going to be interesting. It would be my pleasure, Dabi said, stepping up to the mic and gripping his hands into the side of the podium. He hung his head and then looked up directly at you, his turquoise eyes boring straight through your face into your core, making you squirm in your seat. This year, especially, has been hard. His eyes unwavering from yours. A few loud cheers from the boys accompanied his blunt comment, but he didn't even bother to look at them. Sweat dripped from our pores. Blood, sweat and tears, yeah baby! A Nekoma teammate shouted from the back of the room. Dabi smirked at the person and then back to you. You know what I'd like to say this year? He said with a rhetorical loudness. I'd say, bend over baby, time for daddy to... The microphone was very quickly removed from in front of his mouth, and the principal hurriedly escorted him from the stage to the screams and hollering of his male classmates and various other supporters, while you cowered with embarrassment and slunk down in your seat. Somehow, I don't think any of that was directed at this year. I think the entirety of that speech was aimed at me, you thought, shielding your eyes so that no one could see you. Dabi was taken outside for a talking to, but the teachers and principal couldn't really do anything because he was technically already graduated, and so was permitted back inside if he behaved. As he sauntered back into the hall and sat down, you shook your head with a smirk, and he winked at you, placing his fingers in a V either side of his mouth and poking his tongue out between them. Oh, God! You hid your face again with embarrassment. After the ceremony had finally ended, Dabi was forced to follow his class to the photo section, much to your relief, so that you could make sure that you were ready to avoid him, so that you could get him even more frustrated. Quietly, you slipped outside, intending to hide around the side of the building, but a voice stopped you short. "Yin!" Kuroo called from where he was standing with a few other members of the team. "You coming to the house later?" "Yeah, I was going to wait for Dabi though," you replied, turning and making your way over. "Although," you mused, "you can help me." "What's happening?" the black-haired player asked. "Dabi's a little worked up," you said, putting it politely. "And maybe if I get to the party ahead of him, it'll work him up a bit more." "And you want him to be on edge?" Kuroo asked with surprise. "I haven't even had Dabi on my case like that, but I know him well enough to know that withholding things from him is not a good idea." He accented the word things with air quotation marks. "Yeah, I laugh in the face of danger," he replied cheekily. Evidently," he mused, with a smirk, those golden eyes smouldering with mischief. "I just might be able to get you a ride there. Give me a second." He looked up and over at one of Dabi's teammates that had just emerged from the building. "Sedano!" he shouted. "You're coming to the after party, right?" The player called Sedano nodded as he approached. "Yeah, why?" "Could you give Yin a ride?" Kuroo asked. "She's screwing with Dabi. Wants to get there ahead of him, to piss him off or whatever." Sedano smirked. "I'm in. If it's to rile that bastard up, then I'm all for it." He turned his attention to you, dark brown eyes glinting as he jerked his head in the direction of his car. "Better hurry. He'll be out soon." "Go, go!" you hissed, slamming your palms into his arm repeatedly, pushing him towards his car. "Quick!" He turned and you both ran to the Camaro, only just managing to jump in as Dabi sauntered out of the building. "Ah!" you squealed, ducking down in the passenger seat of Sedano's ride. "Go!" "Yo, Dabi!" Sedano hollered, hanging out of his window as he reversed out of the parking spot. Dabi looked up at him and gave him the finger. "I got your girl riding shotgun!" That was your cue, and you sat up and gave Dabi the cutest, cheekiest little wave as Sedano threw the car into gear and smoked it as he took off towards the gates. The look on Dabi's face was priceless, and you saw him bolt for his friend's car as Sedano sped through the gates and out onto the road. "Ah!" you screeched with excitement, bouncing in your seat as you kept watch out the back window. Dabi very quickly had his friend in hot pursuit, and their car came whipping out of the gate and onto the road in a fury of smoked tyres. "Sedano, you'd better gun it or he's going to catch us!" you screeched, still bouncing in your seat, as the houses outside shot by. Slowly the car that Dabi was in started gaining ground, and all of a sudden he was beside you, hanging out of the window. You cackled as you wound your window down and poked your tongue out at him. "Too slow, baby!" he yelled. "Sedano, you bastard! I'll teach you to steal my girl!" Dabi shouted, leaning further out the window and grabbing onto the side of your window. "Dabi, what the hell are you doing? Don't!" you hollered, successfully smacking his hands off. "Don't do that! This is not Fast and Furious!" Just then Dabi's driver slammed the brakes on, and Sedano sped on, only just making it through the intersection before the light turned red. "He's going to kill me!" You pointed both hands at yourself. "He's going to kill you!" He pointed at Sedano. "He's going to kill everyone within a 100-meter radius of this house!" You gestured wildly outside. "He's going to kill our ghost! He's got to catch us first!" Sedano cackled, flicking the indicator on and turning down a side street. "I know a shortcut to Kuroo's. I'll get us there way ahead of Krusty Captain." You hollered, laughing, clutching your middle as you cackled in the passenger seat. "Is that what you call him?" "Yeah," Sedano replied. "We give everyone on the team all sorts of nicknames." "You guys are hilarious," you laughed. "Okay, house is coming up. Get out and run for the backyard," Sedano directed as he ducked his head a little to look to the side mirror to see if anyone was on his tail. "Kuroo usually leaves the back door open, so go in through there. I'm pretty sure his folks are out for the weekend, so the house should be empty. I don't think Kuroo's even here yet." The teammate slowed as he approached Kuroo's house and then jammed the brakes on once he was out the front. "Go, go!" he shouted, the adrenaline in his panicked voice spurring you into action. You yanked the car door open and jumped out, running for the gate that led to the back of the house. Quickly you let yourself inside the backyard before tearing across the lawn beside the pool to the back door and pulling it open. "Oh, thank God it opened," you praised internally, letting yourself in before closing the door behind you. As you ran across the open-plan lounge for the stairs, you heard the sound of screeching tyres out the front of the house, and your heart started throwing panicked beats against the inside of your ribcage, pumping you so full of adrenaline that it made you take the stairs 2 at a time in your fervency to get away. "Is that him? Is that Dabi?" Your internal screaming made your excited panic even worse, causing you to almost trip as you reached the top of the stairs. Blinded by the thrill of it all, you ran for the closest room. dashing inside to the sounds of shouting and laughing from outside the house, fueling the adrenaline in your veins, and forcing a soft squeal of fearful excitement from your lips. It's him! It's him! Shit, where do I hide? Your head whipped left and right, trying to orientate yourself in this strange room, and you stopped for a second to get your bearings before running for the closet. No, that's the lamest hiding spot in the book. The first place he'll check is the closet, you berated yourself, pushing back off the doors and running over to the window to look out. As you got closer, you realised it wasn't a window, but a door that led to a balcony. Maybe I can climb out onto the roof from here? You thought as you opened the door to the balcony and stepped out. Just then, downstairs, you heard shouting. Your name was mixed in with other words, and it caused a spike in your panic. He's coming! He's coming! He's coming! Around and around you spun on the balcony, trying to quickly make up your mind as to how you were going to get up onto the roof, and then suddenly the sound of running footsteps on the stairs could be heard. Oh no! You wanted to scream so bad. There was way too much adrenaline in your system right now. And if seeing Dabi suddenly appear didn't kill you, the anxiety of the anticipation would. The running footsteps stopped, and you pressed your back up against the outside of the house, praying that Dabi had gone down the hall and into one of the other rooms first. You held your breath, turning your head slowly to look at the entrance of the balcony, the sheer curtains billowing out and blowing around in the afternoon breeze. As you watched, Dabi's form appeared, and he stepped out onto the balcony and then turned swiftly and faced you. Where do you think you're going? He rasped seductively, causing your whole body to break out into goosebumps as a shrill scream erupted from your throat, closely followed by hysterical laughing. As you can imagine, I'm going to have to cut out a whole heap from the next few chapters, it looks like, but we'll see how we go. And I will see you tomorrow for the next chapter.